angry light bias,
Howell
right?
order.
Why do we feel so confident in Howell? It was only one game against Cowboys backup secondary. First of all, it wasn't the Cowboys backup secondary. That was the Cowboys secondary. Period. They were in shambles by the time we saw them, but it doesn't matter who was out there. You still got to make the plays, right? I mean, that doesn't change anything. Anytime I see you on a football field, you need to put your best foot forward, whether it's preseason, whether it's mop-up duty in the fourth quarter of a blowout, or you get the start in a meaningless Week 18 game. Cowboys were playing for a chance to win the division. So don't make it seem as if he was playing against the Cowboys JV squad with the Cowboys having nothing to play for. The Cowboys were playing for the division. The Eagles had lost 2 games in a row. They had no idea what was going on in that Eagles-Giants game. All they knew is they needed to take care of business against Washington to give themselves a chance to potentially host a playoff game and get the number 1 seed overall in the conference. So don't dismiss that. I don't know if they could have gotten the number 1 seed, though. 49ers might have gotten the number 1 seed. I digress. I don't remember what the standings were. I just know they could have beaten out the Eagles. So don't try to, demean that start and try to make it seem as if it was insignificant, because it was significant. And yeah, it was one start. Absolutely. It was one. It's a small sample size. I'm not basing my excitement, and it's more than just excitement for me. I don't make campaigns based on excitement. I was excited about Taylor Heineke. I didn't make a campaign based off of Taylor Heineke's success early in his first 3 out of 4 starts were fantastic for Taylor Heineke. But I knew there was a ceiling there. I was excited, but I wasn't gung-ho on Taylor Heineke. You know why? Because there was a body of work that preceded Taylor Heineke. There's a body of work that precedes Sam Howell. All I can go off of is what I've seen. I watched Sam Howell at the University of North Carolina. He played really, really well. So much so that at one point he was considered the best quarterback in college football. That didn't just come out of nowhere. He was a good football player. And I'll take it a step further. You know what? I'm gonna cut it off right there because I got more to say about that, but I'll do that at another time. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the command post. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your commander-in-chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So I'm here to debunk the Sam Howell narrative of it was one game, he was a 5th-round pick, he's going to stink, we should trade for Lamar Jackson, all of those things that people are throwing out there. And again, you're entitled to your own opinion. And if they traded for Lamar Jackson, I would not be upset about that at all whatsoever. But I know what trading for Lamar Jackson would do to this team from a financial standpoint, draft pick standpoint. It's a very lofty price to pay. I will acknowledge that. I'm not opposed to it, however. But I understand why they're going the route that they are. And this is the route that they should go. And I played you the Rich Eisen clip like 2 to 3 weeks ago. And he said, that's the route that teams should be taking, is the young quarterback route. That's going to give you the best opportunity to win and win big in this league. And Washington drafted a quarterback last year in the 5th round in Sam Howell. And I remember very vividly saying in that moment when they selected him, we love the pick. Everyone, to a man. I think universally that pick was praised by pundits, draft beatniks, fans of other teams, all alike. Like, damn, that's a really good pick in the 5th round. And the reason everyone agreed was because Sam Howell really isn't a 5th-round pick. And I can't stress this enough. I've already done that whole spiel, right, about Sam Howell not being a true 5th-round pick. For those of you who haven't seen that, I did it on the Washington or the Command Post live show, 2 weeks ago? And then I ran it back with a question asking, how do you feel about Sam Howell? And I played that clip again. So you've seen it by now, more likely than not, where I kind of go through the whole process of him not being a true 5th round selection. However, I just played you an excerpt from my podcast that I had on Friday. And there's still people out there like my guy, Gregory Lightbody. Shout out to my guy, Gregory Lightbody, that say, hey, it was one game. You know, I don't get all of the confidence that you have in Sam Howell. And I cut it off because I had a conversation that I wanted to have. Now I'm ready to pick that conversation up and finish that thought that I was, having on that podcast. So I want to say this. You are a fool if you think and let me explain something first before I go into greater detail. There's a difference between belief and excitement. All right, so let me explain that right now. For me, I can't speak for anybody else out there. For me, there's a difference between belief and excitement. If I believe in a player, then I am willing to go above and beyond the call of duty. I am willing to stick my neck out there to defend that player or coach or whomever because I believe in that player, coach, or whomever. Okay? Case in point, Ron Rivera. When we hired him, I started a campaign. Ron's plan. Why? Not because I was excited about Ron taking the job here in Washington, because I believed in Ron Rivera. And to a degree, I still do. There are certain things that Panthers fans warned me about when we got him as a head coach that they said, hey, you'll find these things out eventually, but he's a good dude, right? We've seen them. There are deficiencies with Ron, okay? But there's also a lot of good with Ron. And I said it then, I'll say it now. Ron Rivera was the right man for the job. He gave this team something that they lacked, which was an actual face that people could gravitate towards and give us the benefit of the doubt because we had a guy with actual chops and skin in the game that people respected. We needed someone. We couldn't afford to have a no-name coach, a young up-and-coming coach that nobody respected. He would have been gobbled up by this environment. Gobbled up. And especially with all the shit that's been going on of late, all the stuff that Ron had to deal with, no other coach had to deal with as much as Ron Rivera has had to deal with. That a new coach, could you imagine a first-time coach like Mike McDaniel in Miami? Could you imagine him coming to Washington in the shitstorm that has happened to Ron Rivera? Could you imagine him flourishing in that environment? He would have been gobbled up, spit out. And he's a talented head coach. So he was the right man for the job. And to add to that, he, to me, changed the culture here in Washington. He changed the culture. And if nothing else, if we get nothing else from Ron, if we never win big under Ron Rivera, he served a purpose. I believed in him, and he delivered on at least half of what we asked of him, or what I asked of him, which was change the culture, win big here in Washington. He may not win big here in Washington, but he did change the culture. And I believed in him. That's why I did Ron's plan. I believe in Sam Howell. Excitement is what I had for Taylor Heinicke. And you could argue Heinicke's 3 out of his first 4 starts. The playoff start against Tampa Bay. The first start he had in 2021, which was the week 2 game against the Giants, which was an epic contest. And then the week 4 start against the Falcons. The week 3 that was smushed in between against the Bills on the road was tragic. But the week 4 game against Atlanta on the road, the week 2 game at home on a Thursday night against the Giants, and the playoff start. You can't have a better start than that, really. I mean, he was outstanding in those games. But I was excited because I didn't believe he was going to be the long-term solution. That's why I didn't start a campaign. I could have started a campaign after that Falcons win, after that Giants win. People were excited. People thought maybe this is the guy. But I knew there were limitations. I wouldn't dare stick my neck out for a guy like Heineke, even though I appreciate what he did here. There's a body of work that precedes you. All right. Sam Howell's body of work spoke very loudly to me. Maybe not to everyone else. Maybe not to the rest of the league. But it spoke loudly to me. And then you couple that with the one game that he did play in the NFL to this point. It showed me this isn't too big of a moment for him. He can come in here and he can be what we envisioned him being when we selected him. And it allowed us to stay out of the mess of needing a quarterback this year. And that's exactly what I said when we drafted him last year. At a bare minimum, he was insurance. I hoped that he never had to see the field because we were hoping Carson Wentz would be the answer. I was excited about Wentz. I did not believe in him. I was excited about him last year, but I did not believe in Carson Wentz. And the reason was the body of work that preceded him. I believe in Sam Howell because of what I saw at North Carolina, what I saw in the Cowboys game, but more importantly, there's this easy narrative to fall victim and prey to. This low-hanging fruit of, oh, he's a fifth-round pick. He was a fifth-round pick for a reason. I want to enter in Exhibit A. And I had this conversation with you guys about him being a fifth-round pick, right? And I said, if you pick him up and you drop him in the 2020 draft with Burrow and Herbert and Tua and Hurts, he's a second-round pick. He may even be a first-round pick. I very distinctly said that. Now, let's take a look at what I had to say. This is via J.P. Finley. All right, J.P. Finley tweeted this out the other day. And, you know, I like to be right. But even if I'm not, if I have conviction, I'm going to stand 10 toes down in what I believe in, whether someone says it's wrong or not. If I believe it and it's opinion based, right? It's subjective. I'm standing 10 toes down in mine. All right. Now, if it's factual and I'm wrong, I'm going to tell you I'm wrong. Mel Kiper on if Sam Howell was in the 2023 QB draft class. It's a leap of faith to say he's our guy. Okay. So he's acknowledging that anybody that says he's the guy, it's a leap of faith. You're taking a leap of faith. I'm taking a leap of faith. He's not wrong. I'm going out on a limb. I told you, I'm planting my flag. Y'all know where I stand. New How order. Y'all know what it is. 1 for life. Y'all know what it is. But he would have been drafted a round or two higher. He'd be right there with Hendon Hooker. He would have a second round grade. What did I tell y'all? You put him in a draft class that is more respected at the quarterback position, and he would not have been swept up in the conversation that happened last year in 2022, when the quarterback class essentially was condemned. The entire class was condemned. If not for the Steelers having a quarterback in their backyard in Kenny Pickett, they probably wouldn't have taken. If Kenny Pickett went to Louisville, he probably wouldn't have been a first-round pick. The Steelers share a building with the Pitt Panthers. They had intimate knowledge of what Kenny Pickett was as a person, as a player, and so they felt more comfortable and compelled to take him in the first round. If Kenny Pickett went to Louisville, he would not have been a first-round pick. No one in the league would have taken a quarterback in the first round. Everyone condemned the 2022 class, and Sam Howell got swept up. I'll take it a step further. This is something I haven't said, but I should have, but I'm going to say it now. What happens before matters. What happens before matters. What precedes a player that you're comping him to matters. Case in point, this year's draft class is going to be very beneficial for guys like Hendon Hooker, Anthony Richardson, and guys of that ilk. Those two in particular are going to benefit from what Jalen Hurts just did. Had these two come out last year, before Jalen Hurts' emergence, Anthony Richardson would have been looked at and viewed as a project. Not saying that he wouldn't have been taken, but teams might not have been as high on him. I assure you Hendon Hooker isn't viewed in the light that he's viewed in right now. But because of Jalen Hurts' development as a second-round pick, a lot of people see similar qualities in Hendon Hooker. They see the mental capacity. Jalen Hurts is far beyond his years mentally. He gets it. He's a leader of men, and he understands what is necessary of him to help his team be successful. A lot of those qualities you hear people speak of Hendon Hooker. When they talk to him, this guy gets it. They go right to Jalen Hurts. Hendon Hooker, solid body of work, not great. Really one good year at Tennessee. Okay? Got injured. There's enough reasons to say, nah, I'm not messing with Hendon Hooker. But then you look at what Jalen Hurts did and you look at the development and how quickly it happened, and you get excited about a guy that mentally gets it like Hendon Hooker does, and you say, he could be Jalen Hurts in 2 years. You look at Anthony Richardson and you say, he's a bigger, better athlete than Jalen Hurts, right? He's more of a Cam Newton than he is a Jalen Hurts. But you say, if Jalen Hurts can develop the way that he did, why can't Anthony Richardson do the same thing? He's bigger, he's faster, bigger arm. Why can't we have him be what Jalen Hurts was? That helps draft stock. It changes the way people think. Now, back to Sam Howell. He comes out in 2022. What did we just see from Baker Mayfield? The one guy that everyone's comping him to. It's the easy, low-hanging fruit comp. And I'm not going to lie, I pulled one of those apples off the tree and took a bite. It's too easy not to. He looks like him. He's the same height. He plays like him. He's Baker Mayfield. Well, what happened to Baker Mayfield in 2021, heading into that 2022 draft? Baker Mayfield was ass. He had just been traded again, and he looked like absolute garbage can juice. Or actually, he had just gotten the clearance to get traded from Cleveland. He had a terrible year, okay? And he ultimately was traded to Carolina, and you see what happened. Everyone was down on Baker Mayfield. Had Sam Howell come out the year prior, when Baker Mayfield had just taken the Browns to the playoffs and beat the Steelers and then almost took them to Arrowhead and won, people would have been looking at Sam Howell and go figure, right? Sam Howell going into that year after being comped to Baker Mayfield, Mayfield just did what he did in Cleveland, leading the Browns to the playoffs for the first time since who knows when, getting them a playoff victory for the first time since God knows when, and almost going into Arrowhead and upsetting the Kansas City Chiefs. Baker Mayfield's stock was never any higher than that, and neither was Sam Howell's. You think that's a coincidence? If Baker Mayfield is killing it in the NFL right now, Sam Howell's a first-round pick. And you'd be a damn fool to not think that those two are correlated. And I know you would love to separate them, but we're humans. That's how people operate. Oh, he's just Baker Mayfield. Baker stinks. Stock drops, plummets. Oh, that 2022 class, it stinks. Oh, he's Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield stinks. Yeah, get him out of here. If Sam Howell were in a better draft class of quarterbacks, he would have been a second, no worse than a third-round pick. I contend he would have been a second-round pick. He would have been a second-round pick. And it's not because of one game that I'm buying Sam Howell's stock. That one game is a part of the reason, but it's not the sole reason. I watched him play in college. I watched the preseason. You can't tell me you weren't impressed with Sam Howell in the preseason. We all were. We said, hey, he's got a little something there to him. And then you watch him in that season finale against Dallas. You put all of that together, the UNC tape, the preseason games, and then the Week 18 performance, and you say, this dude can play in this league. And not only can he play, he can excel in this league. He doesn't have to just be a guy. He doesn't have to be a jag back there. With the weapons that we have, with what we think Eric Bieniemy is going to bring to the table, Sam Howell can flourish. He can thrive. And that's why I believe, okay, there's a belief here. Not just excitement. There's a belief in Sam Howell. So yeah, I'm going to defend him till the cows come home. Because there is a void in the NFC at quarterback. Specifically, young, talented quarterbacks. Right now, it's just Jalen Hurts. Said this on the podcast. We don't know what Jordan Love is going to be in Green Bay. He's going to get an opportunity this year. We don't know what Trey Lance is going to be in San Francisco. He's going to get an opportunity again this year. And if it doesn't work out, they feel like they got Brock Purdy. We'll see what he turns out to be. It could be one of those two guys. We don't know what either one of those guys are going to be in San Francisco. I think the Panthers are about to get themselves a stud, whomever they take at number one. So you're going to have another young gunner, more likely than not, entering the NFC East or NFC ranks. And, I mean, we can look around the rest of the NFC, and there may be one or two more guys. Desmond Ridder in Atlanta, what is he going to be? I think I know what he is, but we'll see. He's going to get a shot this year. And then there's Sam Howell. There's a void in the conference with young, talented quarterbacks. There's no shortage of them in the AFC. It's crowded over there. Good luck. You're going to need it if you go out there. It's a lot of those young boys. And a couple of veterans that are like, hey, don't forget about me. Over here, on this side of the bracket, right now, it just looks like Jalen Hurts. That could change in a year's time. And Hurts could have company. And as I mentioned, it could be Trey Lance. It could be Desmond Ridder. It could be Sam Howell. It could be Trey Lance. It could be Jordan Love. It could be Brock Purdy. I think it's going to be Sam Howell. You don't have to be on board right now. There'll be plenty of space after he shows you and you start to believe. There'll be plenty of space. I'm not going anywhere. Neither is the NHL. But I'm just letting you guys know why I feel the way that I feel. Again. And as I've said numerous times, you'd be a fool to think that there's no correlation between when you're selected, what year you're selected, what the crop of quarterbacks and other guys surrounding you look like, what is the consensus about your draft class in that particular position that year, and then who am I comping you to, and what has he done in the league? We're humans. Okay? What do we talk about with Ohio State quarterbacks all the time? Man, should you take Justin Fields? Ohio State quarterbacks suck in the league. That you don't think that had an impact on Justin Fields' draft stock? You're kidding yourself. If you don't think that didn't have a bearing on where he got selected. Had Dwayne Haskins been successful, Justin Fields is probably a top 5 pick. You don't think Justin Fields having a little bit of success, not being a bust, doesn't help out C.J. Stroud? You're kidding yourself. Stroud would have still been taken in the first round. Don't get it twisted. He's a talent. But that stuff seeps in your mind. There's a reason scouts say, don't scout the helmet, scout the player. You know why? They have to remind themselves of that because it's human nature to say, hey, the last 5 quarterbacks that have come out of this program haven't done well, okay? They got a formula in college football. It works. They dominate. But when they get to the next level, it doesn't translate. It's easy to dismiss a quarterback because of that. So you have to tell yourself, don't scout the helmet, scout the player. I'm telling you, don't scout the draft pick. Scout the player. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post. You know what it is. Post up and take command. The takeover begins, man. I ain't going to keep telling y'all the same thing over and over again. It's a new day. It's the new high order. You either in or you out. You know where I stand.
New Howell order.
Catch y'all on the other side. Have a good one.
LouieTeeNetwork.